Friends, there is lot of debate and many apprehensions over the special intensive revision proposed to be held in the election-bound states after Bihar election, and the special intensive revision, in the face of special intensive revision, why the intellectuals and civic society is silenced in the face of the constitutional assault. On this subject, I am sharing my views. My friends, India today stands at a historic crossroads. The Constitution, our collective charter of rights, liberty and justice, is under direct and systematic attack. Statutory bodies, once independent guardians of democracy, are collapsing into silence, subservience, or active complicity. The most glaring manifestation of this destruction is the special intensive revision of electoral rules, an exercise transformed into a political weapon under the autocratic functioning of the selected Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar Gupta and a selected commission whose independence was compromised the moment the Chief Justice of India was removed from the appointment process. Yet, a grave and troubling question arises. Why are our intellectuals, democratic bodies, opposition parties, civil rights groups, and the legal professional organizations are silent? The silence that enables the authoritarianism. The erosion of democracy does not always come with loud announcements. It often comes quietly through silence, indifference, and normalization. India's intellectual class, civil society organizations, and sections of legal fraternity have failed to respond with urgency this movement demands. Their muted or reluctant voices are not merely disappointing, they are dangerous. Their hesitation emboldens those dismantling democratic institutions brick by brick. The stakes could not be higher. When democracy falls, it does so in the presence of educated silence. Statutory bodies reduced to extensions of the executive. The erosion is not limited to the election commission. Statutory bodies, once designed as a constitutional guard rails, have been systematically captured or defamed. Human rights commissions are silent spectators. Information commissions are paralyzed. Investigating agencies act as a political weapons. University spaces have been disciplined. Media has largely been surrendered. The special intensive revision, a political weapon, not an administrative revision. The special intensive revision, presented as an administrative verification of voter rolls, is in reality a carefully engineered political instrument with deeply troubling motives and consequences. The real motive behind special intensive revision, targeted exclusion of vulnerable communities. The SIR disproportionately targets minorities, Dalits, Adivasis, migrant laborers, urban poor, and women who have changed their residence and where the opposition is strong. These groups traditionally show resistance to majoritarian communal political agendas. Their disenfranchisement is not an accident, it is a core motive of SIR. Engineering a homogeneous majoritarian voter base by selectively deleting voters from a particular social and political backgrounds, SIR aims to craft a controlled electorate, one aligned with the ideology of those in power. Then converting electoral democracy into managed democracy. Once the voter list is manipulated, elections cease to be the voice of the people. They become a predictable ritual, allowing a government to claim legitimacy while operating with authoritarian control. Using verification as a mask for discrimination, the language of the cleaning up the rolls hides a discriminatory process. Documentation demands that the poor cannot meet. Selective verification drives in minority locality pockets, non-transparent deletions, bureaucratic obstacles to re-registration. This is exclusion disguised as administration. The severe ill effects of SIR on India's democracy, mass disenfranchisement. Entire communities risk losing their constitutional right to vote. When minorities, Dalits, and Adivasis are removed from the rolls, political equality collapses. Destruction of free and fair elections. An election where voter rolls are manipulated is not an election, it is an illusion. Sir, the special intensive revision undermines Article 325, that is, no exclusion on caste religion grounds. Article 326, universal franchise. Article 14 and 15, equality and non-discrimination. It is a direct attack on constitutional democracy. Institutionalizing majoritarian authoritarian rule. Manipulating voter lists allows those in power to maintain control indefinitely. This begins the transition from democracy to one-party authoritarianism, deepening social polarization. Communities that find themselves excluded feel marginalized, targeted, devalued, and politically invisible. The special intensive revision will lead to distress, alienation, and eventual social unrest. Erosion of public trust in elections. When citizens believe their vote can be deleted, they lose trust not just in the election commission but in democracy itself. The republic cannot survive once the people lose faith in their own political voice. Why are intellectuals and democratic institutions silent? A fear of retaliation. With investigative agencies weaponized, dissent now carries a personal and professional risks. Institutional fatigue and fragmentation, years of pressure, funding restrictions, and targeted harassment have weakened civil society's ability to respond. Polarization and propaganda. Any dissent is labeled as anti-national, discouraging collective action. Media coverage, media capture. When media is controlled, truth cannot reach the masses. Silence becomes the default narrative. Public indifference and religious polarization. Political people under the influence of communal narratives fail to identify the threat to their own sovereignty. So people's indifference, a democracy's slow death. Perhaps the most dangerous factor in this crisis is public indifference. Citizens misled by propaganda, distracted by religious polarization, or unaware of the implications, they are allowing the special intensive revision and other anti-democratic measures to proceed unchecked. Many fail to realize that the democracy is not the government's property. The constitution is not the state's text, it is the people's charter. Sovereignty lies not with the rulers, but with the citizens. When special intensive revision removes their vote, it removes their consent. When the constitution is weakened and their rights vanish, when authoritarianism rises, people becomes subjects, not citizens. If this indifference continues, especially under the religious influence, the consequences will be catastrophic. Constitution may be scrapped. Democratic institutions will collapse. Autocracies will take permanent hold. People will lose liberty, right, equality, and dignity. Sovereigns will be reduced to slaves of the state because people are the sovereigns in democracy, and these sovereigns will be reduced to slaves of the state. This is not a fear mongering, it is a historical pattern across the collapsing democracies. The stakes could not be higher. Electoral manipulation through the special intensive revision is taking place is not an isolated administrative act. It is the final assault on India's democratic soul. If elections themselves are compromised, the republic loses its meaning. If citizens lose their vote, they lose their voice. If institutions lose independence, society loses justice. If intellectuals lose courage, the nation loses its conscience. India is not merely at crossroads. India is at the edge of the irreversible authoritarian transformation. So, what is the call to the? And it is a call to the conscience. India's fate cannot be left to silent institutions. Democracy survives only when its citizens defend it. Intellectuals, lawyers, civil rights groups, and ordinary citizens, and more particularly the opposition parties, must unite and come forward and must break their silence. This is time to speak is now, because tomorrow speaking may no longer be allowed. once authoritarianism reigns supreme. So this is a warning call to all the entire nation and the citizens of this great country that to protect the democracy by protecting the constitution and its institutions. Thank you. Jai Bhim, Jai Bharat.